Hi, this is George Kao. Welcome back to the series where we are talking with successful life coaches, where I am talking to successful life coaches about how they built their full-time life coaching business. So just to clarify, these people are making a full-time living from their life coaching. And very importantly, they're not coaching people on business or money or marketing like I am. It's relatively easy compared to life coaching. It's relatively easy to build a business, coaching people how to build a business. It is not as easy to coach people on to build a business, full-time business, coaching people on. For example, our speaker today, she helps people with somatic practices, and she'll describe what all that means, and she can talk about it much more eloquently than I can. So Padma, I'm so grateful for you to be here. Thank you for agreeing to share your experience with all the aspiring life coaches out there.
You're so welcome. Really happy to be here. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me, George.
absolutely. So my first question for you is just as a way to introduce yourself to the audience. What do clients seek you out for? What do you find yourself working with clients on? And we've talked, we talk regularly, and I'm always so excited to hear what you're working on with clients. So can share with us what some of those things are.
Sure. Well, first, I'd actually like to say that I don't really call myself a life coach, but I certainly fall into or under the umbrella of life coaches. I feel
Yes.
like I'm more of a transformational guide
Mm,
and an embodiment educator. So I
interesting.
really, people come to me for all kinds of reasons. People come to me because they're at a pivotal place in their life and they just want some guidance. When
Mm,
they get to a certain terrain, maybe like separating from a relationship or really recognizing that they want to be lined up with themselves and with their life purpose, I feel like I'm more of a life purpose coach,
mm,
to really connect to mind, heart, and body, connecting all the way through. So it is really, I do really hold it in the frame of spiritual counseling and guidance. So
mm,
some people come and they're just kind of, fine tuning how they are. I
mm.
work a lot with people on self-care, how to
So
really stay
yeah,
connected
say more.
with yourself. Okay, great. I will. Happy to. This is fundamental. Self-care is fundamental, which where I address self-care is like I assist people to really come into themselves, because you won't know what you need if you don't know where you're at. And one of the main ways to know where you're at is to actually be in your body and be in your breath, because your body is giving you tons of information, tons of signals all
Mm,
the time. So
mm,
it's really, the possibility is to move from figuring things out to trusting your knowing, to trusting
mm,
your whole body, your whole system knowing.
mm,
So, I work with people on, so self-care can include things, the obvious things like getting enough rest, being in balance with your life in terms of work and play, food, certainly, just how, and really prioritizing yourself, because you'd be surprised, and I don't know if there's anyone listening out there who tends to give,
mm.
overly give.
Yeah.
This is maybe more for women and certainly men as
Mhm.
well. And I work with men and women and people ranging in age from 20s to 70s or even 80s. I have a really beautiful 84-year-old client
Mm.
right now.
Nice, nice. Thank you for explaining that, because when I first heard the term self-care, uh, which I feel like the term is growing in popularity, maybe even 10 years ago, very few people talked about that. When I first heard that term, not understanding it, I thought it sounded selfish. I
Mm,
thought, like, what do you mean self-care? We're supposed to, and like you said, a lot of us watching this, listening to this, tend to be caring and service-oriented people. So I was like, no, we're supposed to care for other people. That's our number one priority. And then and I still believe that our our highest work is part and parcel with service in the world.
mhm,
Now, but I've also come to realize just how profound and important it is that if we are not creating routines in our life to fill ourselves up with energy, right? Physical energy, but also emotional energy, mental energy, joy, optimism, calmness, confidence. If we're not doing that, we are. It's like we're serving with having cut our own legs off, or cutting off an arm and then trying to serve the world.
Exactly.
We're not fully in ourselves, and so so I'd love for you to touch on this a little bit when you say that you. And I'm spending a little bit more time on this part of the interview because I really want people to understand the diversity. And you mentioned you don't typically call yourself a life coach. I'm glad you said that because, ironically, I don't think anybody I've interviewed thus far would call themselves a life coach.
Yeah, and I'm not a certified life coach.
Right, exactly. And I think that probably a lot of people watching and listening to this wouldn't call themselves a life coach, or aren't building a life coach, because I would say that I'm interviewing people like you who have built a full-time business in personal development,
Yes,
in the realm of spiritual growth, personal growth. Like I mean, and that's a dream for so many of us. Like I'm a personal development junkie. Like, oh my gosh, I could actually have a full-time business talking to people about the kind of stuff that I love to read. I mean, that's crazy. That's amazing, right? And you've done it. You've created that, which is why whenever I hear you talk about serving your clients, you're like, I'm so excited I get to work on this kind of deep level. So that's so cool.
Well, I just want to respond to something you said, which is about self-care and the structures of self-care. So there are external structures of self-care that really hold us and give us the bandwidth and the nourishment. It's kind of like the structures in your life, which can also apply to your work, and do also apply to your work, create a container for you to move in, a resourced container. So there are the external structures, and I also very much work with people on the internal structures. A lot of times people will say, well, what do you do? And I say, well, I meander around in people's hearts and souls with them, and help point people back to their deepest self, their deepest heart. Because if you're resting in yourself, whether you're in relationship, whether you're relating on a professional level, when you're really connected to yourself, then life becomes so much more effortless, and you're resting in the truth of who you are, which is a phrase that has been a little bit overused at this point, but you're resting in a deep connection to yourself, to your knowing of yourself. And it's also a moment-to-moment thing. So I work a lot with people with being really current with where they're at, which certainly applies to business. And just to say that I do a lot of different things with people. I work with some people through hypnosis. I also do a lot of work with people with limiting beliefs, which you talked about. Oh, self-care. Well, that sounds like selfishness. So you have to actually kind of raise your antenna for noticing when you're cutting yourself off at the knees through the use of your mind, whether it's judgments, so really just helping people to be in themselves and pay attention. And then, yes, I'm basically doing me as I'm relating, and I have a lot of training. I have a lot of experience. I've been working deeply on myself for several lifetimes.
Yeah, totally.
And I want to just say that anyone listening to this, if you really are connected to yourself and you line up with yourself and back yourself up, which what I mean by that is you get on your own team. You give yourself encouragement, verbal encouragement, mental encouragement. You kind of pat yourself on the back, literally, or just cheer yourself on. Like, you can do it. I just want to say that you can do it if you step into yourself and line up with yourself.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Thank you for that. And I would say that the kind of work you do with clients, they usually can't do by themselves, right?
They can't do it by themselves. And the point of what we're doing is that then they're learning and
they're empowered.
The depth, yes, they're being empowered, and they're discovering the depth of how resourced they are. Yeah. And we all come to the plate with a lot of conditioning and our woundings and our whole history. So we're undoing that, and then we're finding the resource. So just every time it's reflected back, the resource of love, loving presence and acceptance is reflected back, and also pointing people back to, really their own basic goodness. I was with somebody this morning and he was telling me about a situation that he's in and how he knows that he's not going to leave because it's out of the love that he has for this person, even though it's not an ideal situation, he's in it. And it's like, I just pointed out, that is compassion, that is generosity, and it's a soul contract. So we look at, what are the soul contracts? What are the deeper contracts that we have with ourselves and with the people in our lives? So I'm working on a lot of different levels. I'm working on super tangible, super pragmatic, as well as on the more invisible.
Nice. Levels. That's beautiful, beautiful. So would you be willing to share with us what your offerings and packages are? And the reason I ask, and especially if you've learned any lessons about why you came to these offerings, these packages, if you're willing to share your prices, that would be helpful for people as well. But I know some people don't want to share that right up front. But I give you an example. And a bit about my story. I mean, I used to do exclusively informational products and group coaching programs, online courses, and I made a lot of money doing that, but I wasn't happy. I was deeply unhappy with what I was offering there because I wasn't seeing the impact. I wasn't seeing the transformation that my stuff was promising. Now, it may have been happening, but I didn't hear enough of the transformation from my clients to make me feel, compared to now where I get to see transformation every day, I get to see the results every day. But so I decided I changed my offering so that I'm doing just one-to-one. In terms of getting paid, I'm just doing one-to-one at the moment. It makes me feel really good about it. And I also learned that 3 months, I used to offer a 3-month program that was a little too short. Now I'm offering 12 months and 6 months. And the 12 months is, to me, feeling a little bit drawn out. So going forward in 2016, I'm probably going to offer just 6 months, maybe 4 to 6 months. So kind of my lessons I'm learning, and I feel like that's one of the lessons that's been iterated in the previous interviews too, is like we each have to, as service providers, we each have to find what type of offering works best for us. So maybe you can share with us what your offerings are, why it works for you, and maybe where you're feeling yourself evolving to.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Well, that's an interesting question because I'm still kind of landing in it. I mean, really, up until recently, say the last 6 or 8 months, I've basically been working with people in a more of a therapeutic model, which means we just work, and I work with people for years. And some people I work with once a week, and sometimes I work with people twice a week or every other week or monthly. Monthly is more like a maintenance structure. I mean, I find for the kind of work that I'm doing, especially in the beginning, to get people really stabilized in themselves and clear with what they're doing, it's really like a minimum of 3 months. I feel like a 3-month commitment. It's also a 3-month commitment that you make to yourself. So I really suggest that you ask people to make a 3-month, or maybe if that seems a little too long, a 6-week commitment. Because what happens if you're doing kind of deeper level work with people, or also business coaching, because it gets scary and, oh, can I do it? And then you might want to just jump out. You might want to split. So if you create a container, which is a commitment, you're making a commitment to show up. I make a commitment to show up, and I'm asking the client to make a commitment to show up. So I just find it's a container, and people are more likely to just feel held in that container. Now, that said, I also still have old clients that I'm working with kind of on this open-ended, long-term, multi-year process. And also because the kind of work I'm doing is so dynamic that people are always discovering. I had one of my clients say to me the other day, he said, there's no end to what I'm discovering here with you. So why would you stop? Because he's just keeps discovering and discovering. And I'm also on, I'm on my learning edge, my self-discovery edge. So there's really no end. So the ongoing, the 3-month, I have some 6-month packages, and I have what I call my deep dive program, which is a 1 year, and it's 44 sessions within a year. I don't feel like I have only few clients that I work with every single week, every single month. I mean, I take, vacations and pauses, and people do. So I just really, I do feel like it can create stability, or it does create stability. When you have people, they sign up for a package, it creates stability for you, creates stability for them. They don't have to think about writing checks every time.
Yeah.
Kind of nice to take that financial piece and just have it up front. Most often I have people pay up front, for the program or for the month, depending on the situation. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing. There's a pretty wide range. I feel like even at this stage, several years into it, and I'll just say I've been doing this kind of work for over 10 years. And I've only been focusing, my daughter is now, she'll be 9, and I really only went full throttle into this not even 4 years ago. So I just focused, I went from, 0 to 60 in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Out of necessity.
Right.
Indeed, the mother of invention. If you have to do it, you will. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So how did you, tell us what has been working for you to gain new clients?
Gain new clients. Well, several things. I think I want to speak about, and this is just really important to me, your kind of inner posture, where you're holding, the intangibles that you're holding inside yourself. You set, I mean, there's intangibles and there's also goals, right? So you say, all right, I want to see this many clients, or I want to work X number of hours, and you're just clear about that. And I also find that I have specific days when I work. These are the days I'm in my office. Somebody says, oh, I can see you on Friday, and I say, I'm sorry, I don't see clients on Friday. That you have really clear, defined client time, and as George can speak more to, time for marketing, time for enrollment, time for other things. So have clarity about the amount of time and the amount of clients you want and the amount of money you need to make or want to make. I've done a lot of different things. I feel like in the very beginning, I actually did a living social offering for hypnosis. And that brought me a huge influx. That brought me I met 70 new people through that.
Wow.
Like, boom. And
how many years ago was that?
I think it was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I think that was the window of that. I had heard about a couple friends who were doing it for massage, and they got 500 sessions. Jeez. So I said, all right, I'm going to do this. And I got 70. And some of those people I am still working with. I do have a really good client conversion rate and pretty good stick-to-itiveness, like pretty good ongoing.
And do you want to say a bit about, because you're not a salesy person. That's not how you come across to me. So how do you get clients to stick with it?
That's a good question. Let me just quickly name. So I would just say, join your Chamber of Commerce. Be really clear about where you're at. Join your Chamber of Commerce. Give sessions away at raffles for your school, or where, kids' schools, or wherever you can give it away. Give stuff away. Be willing to give it away and trust that it comes back. And also know that when you do something over here, you might not get a direct result over here, but something might happen over there.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's a lot of energetics to this that are super essential, at least have been for me. And bottom line, be ultra consistent in yourself. Keep showing up. Be really steady. Because if you're steady, like, I just want to say that something that I hold in my practice, that this bridges over to this question. I feel like my clients, well, first of all, I love them. And truly, I really have deep love for everyone I work with. So that's one thing. And there's a steady presence. And what I actually say to my clients is, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And I hold that, in the type of work that I'm doing, because that creates a container of trust and stability. And they know, like, I'm not flighty. I'm not just like coming and going. I'm not casual about my work. I'm really showing up. So that's one thing. Be really steady inside yourself. If you say you're going to work on Mondays and Wednesdays for this many hours, you're starting out, you rent an office for 2 days a week. Even if you have no clients, you go and you sit in the office and you show up and you let the universe know, hey, I'm here. I'm ready. Bring them on. Bring them in. And the other thing that I do that I feel like is very important is that as I'm working with people, I educate them as to what they're learning. I name it so that they see, oh, this is what I'm getting, right? And then it lands. I mean, I elicit that from them, and I also confirm, hey, this is what we're working on right now, because I'm holding, hey, I'm with you, and I'm also holding, wow, what's going on back here? I mean, I'm holding a lot of different perspectives while I'm engaging with someone.
So you're contextualizing for them the significance of what's going on.
Yes, and exactly, and I'm grounding in, hey, check it out. This is what you're getting right now. You're getting this, and you're growing. And you know, maybe I'll say, hey, you can trust yourself. And then I'll take a moment and say, sense into the experience of this resource that you just discovered, so that I really let them land in it.
Yeah.
Because I want people to move on, and I want people to feel strong and happy and fulfilled and confident and be able to shine their light, you know?
Yeah, beautiful. Wow, that's great. I'm learning from this. I'm learning from what you're saying.
George, yeah, I really appreciate that receptive element.
Do you want to say anything about what you've tried for marketing that has not worked? Things that maybe you heard, business trainings, marketing trainings out there that said, oh, you must do this, you must do that, or maybe you tried some things.
Yeah, sure. I've tried a few things. You know, like, I haven't done hardly any business or marketing training. I feel like what works is, in the beginning, you get a coach, a personal life coach, and you get a business coach, and you do what they say. And that's what works. And you really do it. They make a suggestion, you agree, and you follow through. Follow through super works. I don't know about if it's like a magic bullet, somebody has like the ultimate formula.
Yeah.
For me, that's not what works for me.
Yeah.
You know, also I work really well with incremental steps. I feel like growth and building consistency in your business and in yourself and in your life is incremental. You just take one action. You don't have to take a million actions. Just take one action. And I'm someone also who obviously can see I have a lot of energy. I've taken a lot of actions, and I just want to refer back to something that does work also is speaking. If you're ready to speak, I feel like speaking and just standing up in front of places like I did, I don't know, different local speaking events, or some speaking events in the East Bay for women, like those kind of things. I feel like each time you step out, that just, you're announcing yourself. So I feel like visibility works, and things that are sort of like a quick fix, I don't feel like work that well. And something else I want to name that I do, that I offer, and that I also did, especially more at the beginning, is personalized hypnosis. I listened to hypnosis of telling my subconscious, this is how many hours I'm working, I'm doing really well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So just that it's the self-talk that I feel like really works, and the just landing in what you're landing in your value also really works. I know you asked me to talk about what doesn't work, but
no, this is all good.
What really does work. I think also just that you land in your essential value, the value of what you are offering. And I don't know what whoever's listening right now, what you're offering. And I do know that it has a value. And I do know that your clients are out there, the clients that need you. They might not need me, they might not need George, but they need you. So really landing in that and just actually embodying that. You stand for that, for yourself, for your own value and your own worth.
Yeah, that is awesome. I know some of your stories, so I know that you do speak, and you also teach some movement classes in person, which does get you some clients. Do you have any tips for people on how to get speaking gigs or how to get, be able to teach in-person classes?
Well, I haven't done that much speaking. I mean, I
Okay.
just feel like there are all these kind of meetups for different things and networking events. I am a part of one networking group. I've never done BNI or anything, but I'm a part of my local Chamber of Commerce networking and join a committee. I'm not really a super committee person, and yet I'm on this health and wellness committee, and I have gotten clients from that.
That's
And
at your local Chamber of Commerce as a health and wellness
down in
committee,
Belgium.
which is unusual, right? Because we're in the Bay Area, so that's more likely to happen. Have a health and wellness committee on this Chamber of
Yeah,
Commerce.
and actually, I've worked with a lot of the people on the committee. They're all great, and
Yeah,
and
cool.
different. I feel like every time you step out, how else to get a speaking gig? Yeah, just go to things and express your interest. Something else that I feel like doesn't work that I got tempted to do that I didn't do was like advertising, online advertising. I really have not done that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to diss any online advertising or search engine things, but that to me, it just feels like throwing money out into space. And I have actually gotten a couple of people that have come to me from just finding me online through like Yellow Pages kind of thing.
Yelp.com for you, right?
Yeah, Yelp.com, and they haven't actually stuck. I don't know what it is. Those people haven't stuck. Whereas the Living Social people did. I worked with some people from Living Social for years and still have people. And one thing I also do, I feel like it is really useful to give presentations, teach classes. I lead a women's group. I teach at summer camps and summer festivals and things like that. So and I teach at my local dance here. I mean, I feel like as much as you can put yourself out in the world, in your arena, the more you can do it, the better. Just because then people will know you and they'll say, oh, right, let me call her, let me call him.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. That's great. That's great. See, let's talk a little bit about messaging. That's really important because if the message, when I say messaging, I mean, when you describe to people your services, what do you say? It means on your website, or it means when you are giving a talk, the title of the talk, the title of your Living Social deal that you created. So messaging is important because if it's not connecting with the audience, they don't get it, even though it may be really, really helpful for them, they might not get it. So what have you noticed works in your own messaging, and maybe what hasn't been working? So anything you want to share there?
I feel like if you're talking to someone in person about what you do, start with, I'm repeating myself, but this is my approach.
Yeah.
Land in yourself.
Sure.
And then see who you're with. Be curious about who you're with. Don't just give a generic elevator pitch to a person. Really notice who you're there with. Ask them some questions. Find out about them. Find out about, where they're at and what their needs might be, and see if it's a match. I mean, oftentimes, I'll do a kind of discovery session or exploratory session with someone, not necessarily free of charge, although sometimes, depending on the situation. And I'll say, hey, let's just get to know each other and let's see if it's a match. I'm not trying to push anything on anyone. I really want it to be a match for them and for me. It's not just, oh, they say I really get you, and I say or I say I get them. There has to be a mutuality in it. So I feel like in messaging, it's really authentically communicating, being deeply sincere. I feel like this is actually something I'm still working on, is being able to take the kind of large realm that I'm working in and bring it into a concrete communication. So anything you write, anything you put on your website, anything you put on your promotional materials, having it be as simple and as accessible as possible. Just making it so it's accessible, so it feels inviting. Like I got one client years ago who I just worked with today. I think I've been working with her for over 4 years. And she was in my little dance class at the Women's Fitness Center. It was just like a dance class, not any kind of conscious thing, although everything is. But And she said, she responded to, what was it? Like, have your feelings and continue to function. Just a line, just that simple. Like you can be in an emotional, you can have an emotional response,
Yeah.
and you can still show up to your life. You don't have to stuff it. You don't have to collapse on the floor. You don't have to throw it out at everybody, but you can actually learn how to be with what's going on and still be with the task at hand. So she responded to that. So I just named that because it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know, keep it really simple and clear would be my invitation.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a great advice. Yeah, yeah, it's true because, well, you know, especially when it comes to, well, any kind of marketing communication, it's speaking to. It's almost like if you can talk in a way a fifth grader can understand, you're probably going to do okay in your marketing. You know, and as I know that especially a lot of people watching this or listening to this have had a lot of training, have had a lot of education, and we tend to try to sound smart. But I love what you're saying is be accessible. Don't be afraid to speak very simply, because that way, yeah, it feels more real, more relatable. So
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, and be yourself. And I think you just said something really important, which is don't try to be smart. Just don't try. Just be. You know, because the trying, I feel like the trying also can translate into grasping for like you're trying to get clients.
Right.
To a hard sell. And a hard sell, at least for someone like me, is the easiest way to send me packing in the other direction.
Right.
Like giving me space. If you give space and it's an open invitation and it's welcoming and you feel sincere and that you have something to offer to the person, let them come, let them respond, let them feel, you know, just feel invited.
Yeah. Yeah. And to keep planting seeds and not digging in the soil to see if the seed grew.
That's right.
Yanking up the little root and say, is it ready?
Yeah, the plant won't thrive if you uproot it when it's just a little sprout.
Okay, so one thing that I'd be curious then from this discussion is you mentioned that you know, as your daughter grew up, you had the necessity to create an income to support yourselves, and at the same time you know the importance of being grounded and not grasping and not being needy. So what would you advise to someone, maybe from your own experience, just what if someone were in a place where they're like, oh my gosh, they're feeling some financial stress. They want clients. Maybe, whether or not they're in stress, they feel the stress of not having enough clients. And so there's a feeling of necessity there, and yet they don't want to be graspy. Any advice for someone like that?
It's a good question.
And it's a tough one.
It's an important question because it's real.
Yeah.
You're just starting out your business, so you're not really quite generating enough money, at least at the get-go. You know?
Right. Well, or it could be someone who has been trying for 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, and maybe they have followed marketing gurus that told them this is the formula to get you 6 figures or 7 figures or whatever that may be, and it hasn't worked for them. And so, but either way, they're in a situation where they don't have enough clients, and it's easy to feel desperate, and it's easy to hold on to anybody who would listen to them. You know, so any advice? And I'm just asking you particularly because I know you have so much experience in grounding and being real, and it's so easy for you, but what any advice you have for us?
Well, it's easy for me, and I've certainly, you know, full disclosure, I've gone through my moments of feeling that contraction around like, oh no, there's not enough, you know. And that, in my experience, it's like stepping on the garden hose. If you want the water to come out, don't step on the garden hose. It actually impedes the flow of life, you know. And this grasping energy is not attractive. It is not universally attractive. It will not attract clients. People can sense it. You know, it's like dogs can sense fear. You know? So like if you feel yourself stepping on the garden hose. What I would say, and if you were with me sitting here, which you are in a moment, I would say take some deep breaths, pause, track that mechanism, the actual sensations that arise and thoughts that arise, because it might be mental. It might be like, oh no, what if, and I'm not going to have, and whatever those thoughts are. And then the feeling, which most likely is some sort of contraction, maybe in your chest, maybe in your jaw, maybe here, wherever it is, and just feel that, and just let yourself feel the fear. And don't act out of fear, but let yourself kind of, we can say, be with or turn toward the fear. It's not the place to act from. And also what I have learned and what I continue to learn is that being an entrepreneur, well, being in life, but in this context, being an entrepreneur really requires trust. You're not doing it alone. It's not about you, doing, and like writing your blog and doing this and going to a networking meeting and doing this. And then all this is like, oh, contract, even though you're in action.
Yeah.
So let yourself feel the fear, pause, and recognize that we're not alone in this in existence. It's like tag teaming with the universe, tag teaming with, the universal energy, you might call it, the flow of life, right? You just tag team, it's team play. It's team play, and you can continue to take action, to show up at the meetings, to sit in your office and say, I am here, universe. Send me clients, send me clients. You can write out a list. Sometimes if I'm teaching a workshop, I'll actually take a piece of paper and I'll write down numbers 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, or I have in my women's group that I run that runs for a 1-year cycle, that's a limit of 12 women. And so I write down 1 to 12 and I just ask the universe, I say, here's the container, fill it up. But I'm not going like, oh no, are they going to come? Are they going to come? That will get in your way. So I would just say, turn toward that fear, because if you contract, you are stepping on the garden hose of the flow of the universe. And the universe actually is on your team. Like, we're not separate from that flow until we clamp down on it. And then we separate ourselves out.
Okay.
Do what you can to meet the moment, and then say, okay, it's going to happen. And one other thing I want to say is that in my experience, private practice, it ebbs and flows. People come and go, and it will ebb and it will flow. And just to, as much as possible, stay in the center of yourself, keep taking action, keep showing up, and just trust, like life does this.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's really great. And I know from your business that even in the ebbs and flows, you are making, more money than most life coaches. I'll tell you that. You're definitely making a full-time living, and your ebb and flow, and I think mine as well. It's sort of like this. It's not like it's like this. It's kind of gradually rising, and until a sustainable level that we want to be at. Right. So spending a little bit, another minute on that concept of turning toward the fear. Now, even that idea is scary, right? so walk us through it to the other side, where somehow it dissolves, or what is the positive side of then what happens after you turn toward the fear?
Right. I love that you're interested in this. This is what I'm interested in, because it could be fear, it could be anything. We're just using fear as
sadness, anger, right?
Anger, any feeling.
Yeah.
So what I know about feelings is that they are finite. If you stay with it, if you turn your attention, and if you're with me, if I'm sitting with someone, I might ask them to close their eyes. I might have them stand up. I might just have them, take a position, which might be moving, and it also might be still. Doesn't need to be moving. There's still movement happening even when you're just sitting down. Turning all your attention. You might close your eyes and turn all your attention and go in the direction which seems so counterintuitive because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the fruits of turning toward is that, just as you said, George, the feeling moves. You find that it has an end, and you will find something else that actually is alive and well deep inside you.
Mm.
So the more you can recognize that fear and all these other emotions, they're just like the waves on the surface of the ocean, right? And there's something else that is alive at the depths,
Mm.
And so if you're willing, it takes a willingness too.
Mm.
And you don't have to force it and like try. Just be willing to be uncomfortable. And if you can only do it for 2 seconds, great. Do it for 2 seconds. That's enough. You'll know. You're a self-regulating organism. And that's why it's useful to work with someone who can just be there with you as you go through it. And every time you move through something, you be with something, your whole system learns how to do it. It's creating these new neural pathways. It's creating deeper trust in your whole system so that you increase your bandwidth for being present with whatever arises. And most of it comes and goes.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, yes. I like that a lot. Yeah. Well, do you have any resource that you would recommend, such as a blog, a podcast, website, or a book for someone who wants to build a coaching business, or anything that come to mind for you?
A particular, I feel like I've gathered my my resources from so many places. I don't feel like it's any one book. I mean, George is great.
Thank you.
I love George. George is a very deep resource of a lot of different ways and very practical and brilliant, and just really it's about listening. Cultivate your inner listening, and then trust when a resource or a book or a podcast, just stay open. Stay open and connected without being grasping or shy. For me, it's about coming from your center, coming from yourself, coming from self-love. Really deep self-love, that it's out of love for yourself in the deepest way that you want to offer your gifts, because you want to be of service, because you want to play your role and step into your life purpose here on the planet in this flash in the pan called life.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. So how can people connect with you? How would you like them to reach out to you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, I would totally welcome you to contact me. You can check out my website, which is www.theresponsivebody.com. And you're also welcome to call me. I'm happy to dialogue with you. If you want to contact me by phone, you can do that at 415-215-2849. I feel like
very generous.
Speaking in person is something that's very useful.
Yeah. And I know that you work with people. You are able to work with people from all over the world. I know right now, currently, a lot of your clients are local, but you also have clients that are virtual as well. So tell us a little bit about that part of it.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that in. Yeah,
is it as effective? I mean,
it's as effective. It is equal. I mean, I love sitting with people in person, and the truth is that we are doing profound work. I have clients in New York or a few hours south of here, or even just, people in the East Bay who for whatever reason can't travel. And, I've worked with people in Europe. So I work with people all over the world, and I really invite you to contact me. And also my email is Padma, Padma, at theresponsivebody.com. So you're welcome to reach out, and I would love to connect with you.
Great. Yeah. And I also know that you have a active and engaging Facebook presence. Everyone who is listening to this, watching this, check out Padma's Facebook page, because she regularly gets dozens of likes and comments on just her musings about life and relationships and being well and being thriving, and so check that out. I'll be sure to link that in the episode notes. So, Padma, any parting words of wisdom? I mean, you've shared so much, but anything you want to remind us of, or?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, well, first of all, remember to breathe while you're pursuing your dreams and offering yourself and showing up to your life. Really just be in this moment as fully as you can be. And then you will know there's an intelligence that is alive in you. And there's a wisdom. There's so much wisdom in this body that is your ally. So the more you breathe, the more you come into yourself, the more you'll know what's needed. And I'd also just want to say that whatever you're doing, whatever your offering is, I really back you up and cheer you on to step into it, because your medicine, your offering is needed. All hands on deck. We are in a moment in life and time when everyone is needed. So no gift is too simple or too small, or if you find yourself saying, oh, well, somebody else is already doing that, they're not, because they're not you. They can't offer it in the way that you are. So just really coming from your heart and offering your gift into this world. Really support you in that and encourage you to do that. And if you're listening to this podcast, that tells me that you are ready to do that and that you're willing to do that and wanting to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. That is so great. What a great way to end. Padma, you have a few minutes afterwards. We can chat about this. So as always, I want to end the episode by reminding you, and as Padma has, that you are not alone. You are cared for by forces within and externally that are far greater than you can imagine, who love you deeply. You are loved, you are cared for, and your destiny is actually secure and amazingly brilliant. And so with that thought, go forward and do your highest work in the world, and know that here, this community, we are here to support you in doing that. So be well, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you.